Weekend one in the books. Next up for the number one ranked Oklahoma Sooners is a 5-game swing in Lake Charles, Louisiana at the McNeese State Cowgirl Challenge. 2 games against McNeese State, 2 games against Central Arkansas, 1 contest against Lamar. We're going to preview all of that here, as well as everything that Patty Gasso, as well as freshman Cassie Pickering and senior pitcher Kelly Maxwell, everything they had to say this week is right here. You're watching the AllSooners Softball Show. Stick with us as we preview everything coming up for the second weekend of the college softball season. Welcome back in, everyone. Ryan Chapman here with your AllSooners Softball Show. And don't forget, AllSooners.com, your spot for all of the OU softball content, wire to wire, all year long. We've got every minute of video from the Sooners, tons and tons of stories, live threads, game recaps. All of that is at AllSooners.com. It's also your home for the AllSooners Softball Show, which publishes every Tuesday and every Thursday. Today is Thursday, which means we look ahead to the Cowgirl Challenge. McNeese State hosting Oklahoma, Central Arkansas, and Lamar for a multi-team event. Fresh off Oklahoma's 4-0 run through the Puerto Vallarta College Challenge. Weekend one of that, at least. And you've got Washington, who moved up to number 5 in the coaches poll. That is who Oklahoma dispatched on Friday night. Duke, who moved up to number 10. Oklahoma got a win over that en route to their 4-0 perfect weekend. But Patty Gasso, these Oklahoma Sooners, they have very high standards. And on Tuesday night, Patty Gasso said simply this. She asked the team how they thought they played, and this is how they graded themselves.
I asked the team today to rank our performance 1 to 10. I had a lot of 4s, I had a lot of 5s, and I had a few 6s. And we just beat 2 top 10 teams with that level of performance. It's something to look at and go, hey, okay. They were not happy, but they competed, and that's what's important to me. So it's a good start, absolutely a good start. And to me, I would say we were probably at a 5+. So we had a really good practice today because they want to get better each weekend. So I was pleased with it, even when we don't want to be at our best yet. Definitely not. So it was good wins. It was a good weekend.
Plenty of room to grow, as Oklahoma knows, and covering this team the past couple of years, that's a pretty common theme. Patty Gasso's come to us a few times here after the first couple of weekends, the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic especially, asking her team, hey, how do you think you did? Things like that. And early in the year, it's pretty common to hear 4s, 5s, maybe some 6s out of 10, that stuff. Oklahoma knows it's a big, long march. It's a big grind. And one of those things that you don't want to be playing your best softball in February. That's not how you end up hoisting that trophy at the end of the Women's College World Series. There's plenty of room for improvement. There were 10 runners left on base each in that Duke game and that Washington game. Not the end-all be-all, not oh my gosh, should someone be worried about the offense, nothing crazy like that, but just things to dial in. Patty Gasso talked about over-swinging, try to hit home runs instead of just locking in, doing your job. A couple of defensive things to work out, how to avoid obstruction calls that aren't obstruction calls, but still you have to deal with the umpires all the same, and wanting to batten all of that up, batten down the hatches. But one performer who looked on her game, absolutely on her game, was senior transfer pitcher Kelly Maxwell. She came in for Oklahoma State, and she herself admitted maybe a smidge of nerves early in that Duke game, her first appearance, but she said by the time she got into that Washington game, she felt like herself. She felt like the old Kelly Maxwell, but the old Kelly Maxwell's not really the old Kelly Maxwell, is it? Patty Gasso talked about the work that Jennifer Rocha, the associate head coach and pitching coach, has done with Maxwell all offseason long, trying to dial in on her game, find those improvements, and get her firing on all cylinders as the season kicks off, or it did kick off this past weekend.
I think Jen and Kelly kind of started from ground zero. Kelly hadn't really looked at numbers, didn't look at a lot of video, so there was a lot of exploring, a lot of learning. I think Kelly has learned a lot from Jen Rocha, and it's really starting to stick, and it's really starting to show in her pitches. So she was really sharp, and she was very, I just felt her very confident. And I can't say that she's been extremely overconfident while she's been here, because she has to keep facing that lineup. So I think they were all relieved just to see somebody else.
Jennifer Rocha did an excellent job 2 seasons ago with Hope Troutwine coming in from North Texas, really elevating her game. Alex Storako, for her, it was a little bit different process. She was playing at Michigan, playing Big Ten softball, experience to the big stage, just taking a load off, and also cutting down that inning count, as well as saying, hey, you can be more aggressive. You've got Patty Gasso's defense behind you. And Kelly Maxwell talked about something that she just has not ever gotten to do before. What exactly Jen Rocha and her worked with all offseason long is a big change to her diet of preparation heading into not just a season, but a weekend's worth of games.
It was very different, I would say, from where I came from. I've never really watched much film and never really took the time to study other hitters, and so having this new knowledge has really elevated my game, and I think it's going to help me in the long run. I think you could attack the hitter more, just trust your pitches through, spinning them through the zone rather than always trying to nibble at the corners or trying to go for the strikeout. Just let your defense work behind you.
Should be fascinating to see how Kelly Maxwell continues to develop as the season goes on, as she gets more confident, and not just those film reviews, film study sessions preparing for opposing lineups, but understanding and fully having the faith of that defense behind her. She can really, really attack. I am excited to see what Kelly Maxwell looks, certainly come Big 12 play, but come postseason. It should be a different level than what we've maybe seen out of her, which is already a 2-time All-American, outstanding, excellent college softball pitcher. Excited to see what the future holds. But another player flipping over, not just in the circle, but in the field, Cassie Pickering, what she did in the batter's box, it's something that a ton of Oklahoma fans juiced by. Obviously, anytime you record your first career at-bat into Grand Slam, there are going to be really high expectations, but it's not quite been a surprise to Patty Gasso, who's seen some things behind the scenes from Cassie Pickering, including some leadership qualities that Oklahoma fans are going to be excited about in years to come.
She is a really mature hitter for her age, and I can hear her talk at practice, and she's talking with the seniors, and she's talking their language, so it's pretty cool to hear that. The ability to ask upperclassmen and listen to upperclassmen versus I'm afraid I don't want to show I don't know. I mean, she's really honest. She will be our future captain. It's very clear to me, and I've even said it to her. She's like, yeah, you know. I'm like, okay, let's do that then. So it's just a different style that's unlike freshmen. She's not scared of anything, and that shows.
Impressive, right? Stepping on in to the #1 team in the country, not fazed by it all, soaking all the information, listening, and also showing off those leadership qualities. But that's nothing new to Cassie Pickering. Just because it's Oklahoma, it doesn't mean it's a new role, one she's not accustomed to as a leader on all the teams she's played on growing up.
It kind of started through like the recruiting process. Here always felt like home, and I always felt welcome, but the seniors have proven a point that like we're not freshmen, like we're a part of this team. Like any question you have, ask. If you need to talk, you can speak up and talk. My select team I played on for 8 years, and I was the captain of that team. So just being able to like take control and like just talk everyone through it and keep everyone composed is something I feel confident doing.
The real work of this weekend will begin as Oklahoma looks to improve from those 4s, 5s, 6s that they graded themselves, trying to hone in on everything, make those improvements at the Cowgirl Challenge in Lake Charles, against Central Arkansas, against McNeese State, against Lamar, before Oklahoma ships out to the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic to close out February. Patty Gasso gave a little bit of preview of what you're going to see, including jotting everyone's memory about that incredible Seattle Regional and how McNeese State had Washington on the ropes, almost eliminating them out of the NCAA tournament totally, before Washington obviously ended their season at the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City last June.
Some good teams. I mean, Central Arkansas was a tournament team last year. Lamar is a program on the rise. McNeese, if you all remember, had one of the most exciting super regionals. They were almost at the World Series. Looking at their numbers, they have over 148 stolen bases last year, which is unheard of. So it's going to be fast and furious. It's going to be a lot of short game slapping, runners in motion. Our defense is going to have to be on point. So they had a good weekend this last weekend. I think they lost to Cal Berkeley their first game, but they're a very solid team.
ESPN Plus is going to be the name of the game this weekend. Not a flow softball operation. One more of those for Oklahoma as they head out to the Mary Nutter. But all 5 of these games, 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, will be broadcast on ESPN Plus. Or obviously you can listen to all of Chris Plank's call of that on the radio, 107.7 The Franchise, or the Franchise 2. Just grab the app, flip between the two. But as always, AllSooners.com will have everything you need. I've got a huge story on Kelly Maxwell and everything that she's been going through. That is up at AllSooners.com. Just hit the softball tab and scroll. It is there, as well as Friday, 2 game stories, game recaps of what happened. Same deal on Saturday as well as one on Sunday. Don't think there's going to be a live blog this weekend, as ESPN Plus pretty well equipped, but we should be firing up those live blogs once again as we head back over to Flow Softball as a softball watching community a couple of weekends from now. But if you're watching this on YouTube, help me out. Drop a comment. First off, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to John Hoover Media. But drop a comment. What do you want to see this weekend? Obviously, Oklahoma wants to go 5-0, but what area do you want to see the improvement? Or just someone like a Cassie Pickering, like a Kelly Maxwell, to continue their excellent play? What are you most looking forward to as Oklahoma, again, a pair of games against Central Arkansas, a pair of games against McNeese State, and that one contest against Lamar? But stick with us. Remember, AllSooners Softball Show every Tuesday, every Thursday. Currently, we have a special guest booked to recap this weekend on Tuesday. She's very familiar to Oklahoma fans, has a couple of rings floating around, as well as some really awesome other experiences. Won't spoil that surprise, but we've worked a lot with her. She should be joining us next Tuesday to recap everything we saw across the country and at the Cowgirl Challenge out in Lake Charles. But for everybody at AllSooners.com, John Hoover, Randall Sweet, Ross Lovelace, Bryce McKinnis, I'm Ryan Chapman. Remember, AllSooners.com, stories, videos, photos, whatever you want. It's the place to be. But for the AllSooners Softball Show, we'll talk to you next Tuesday.